感觉这个赛季一路走过来，还是就跌跌撞撞的吧，还是挺多问题出现的。然后感觉走到这一步，其实我自己也没有想到，就真的能够踏进决赛吧。就因为我们中间确实出现了挺多问题的嘛。杰克加入后，就我们队员都比较有信心了吧。然后今天终于走到决赛了嘛，希望还是能在决赛这个舞台拿到最好的成绩。冠军绝对是我们套博的。
Great to see the confidence there coming through for Carcer. And he's living up to that confidence so far. 2-1 now on the scoreboard. And I don't know what it is about Top Esports, but they seem to specialize in 3v5s. My name is Munchbles. I'm joined by Dagda. Dagda, break that down for me, because Knight and Jackie Love, they just seem insane.
I miss Jackie Love so much. I am so glad this guy is
the
back.
wait is over.
Because it is amazing to see him. And as you said, I mean, incredible performances across the board from both Knight, Jackie Love, Carcer as well. And it was a difficult composition for Top Esports to try and orchestrate all together. So for them to be able to find the success that they did in this game spoke volumes to the team.
It's the different styles as well. We've seen a different Top Esports every single game so far when it comes to these compositions, and they're playing these different styles very well. But let's get on into the nitty-gritty here, and we'll start with our first replay, which is of JDG being the ones to put the pedal down first with an early invade.
And this is where we talk about how Kanavi gets set up by his team for success. So JDG, both Zoom and Yagao, coming to support Kanavi on what was a very dangerous invade. If Zoom and Yagao hadn't come across the time that you wanted, well, that would have been a great start for Top Esports. And from that play, JDG do get the ball rolling. They've got several kills, they start to get themselves into great position, and then you start to look at that 7-minute, 30-second mark where Jackie Love again goes for this fight in the bottom lane, and this was something we saw a little bit from Top more and more in this game, or at least, sorry, that's unfair. A little bit in this series for Top Esports is this over-aggression where they don't need to. So Jackie Love tries to make a play on towards the Lumao's Yuumi in the bottom side, but the Summoner Spell advantage means that, okay, now JDG have got a winning jungle, they have a winning mid, winning bot. It's all going in the favor, but they just kind of forgot that neutral objectives existed for 15 minutes. No Rift Heralds, no Dragons. I was like, what are you doing with your lead?
That is sort of how JDG plays in the early game. They play very passively, generally speaking, to start the game off. And then it's the mid game that they start snowball. But Top didn't allow them to wait until the mid game. At about 15 minutes, we saw Top then going for dives in the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, and this was a great play from Top, because what you see here is, okay, now we got an opportunity to crack open, and especially when you look at the way JDG played this, Lyric was talking about it on the cast, was how he didn't like this, because Zoom TP's in, they give over 3 kills, they get a bunch of gold back into the hands of Top Esports. It was a good trade, though, for JDG, where they do use the hero to get 2 towers mid. And this was where I was like, okay, JDG can now use this pressure that they have to get control of the map. And it started off well for them. They managed to split the map. They have Kanavi on his trundle alongside Lumao, supporting Loken and taking Tara's bot side. And they're starting to get this deep vision. But this is really where this stalemate started to happen, because you didn't have the damage for JDG to start the Baron, because you were always able to check on the Top Esports side, but Top Esports didn't really want to push in because they had a poke comp, so it was this back and forth between, if JDG start Baron, the poke from Top Esports is too strong. So there was this back and forth at all points in time, and it never really felt like either team was able to break that until we saw the ending.
It felt to me like Top were able to break that in the end, because when we take a look at our last replay, you already know at home what replay this one's going to be, because it was Top somehow winning a 3v5.
And this was Top Esports, again, this is what I talked about, a little bit of over-aggression. They think, okay, we can make the play because we've got multiple members from JDG committed to the bottom side, but no poke put down means Top will lose. And then Jackie Love and Knight once again step up. Knight with this great package, one, kills Zoom, then ends up putting Yagao in this awful position where Kanavi and Yagao can't close the gap thanks to the slow on the package to get onto Jackie Love. And when Jackie Love is untouched here, the dueling potential with the combo of the weapons, the Calibrum and the Severum, is sky high, rips through Yagao, turns towards Kanavi, and Loken is stuck, slowed in the pit, just
to
like,
the Baron and the Equalizer. Well, not the Equalizer, the package. Same difference. But yeah, it was actually Knight that gets the triple kill for that one as well. They then get the Baron, and then, I mean, we've all seen what happens when a poke composition gets a Baron on top of it. There's nothing you can do about it at that stage. And we've seen for the second game now, when Top can get ahead and get a Baron, they will close out the game damn fast.
And it feels like that's the capabilities of both of these teams, though. It's one mistake either way that ends up costing them, and JDG sticking slightly too long on that Baron, not turning to just kill the two-man. And especially when you're playing against a poke composition, you have to turn on a dime, because that poke is going to continue to come through. Knight, especially with that package, was able to tear through the health bars of JDG and looking to finish them off. So again, it's these minuscule details that are causing the breaking point for both of these squads, and this is why we are putting up the two best teams in the LPL.
The packages from Knight across this game, we saw it early on in the game as well. Packages straight through mid lane to get back to his team while he's flanking under the tower. That's why he's going to grab himself MVP here for game number 3. It's his second of the series. That's now what is 46th since spring 2019. Just mind-blowing how consistent. 100% kill participation.
That's what I was going to say, and 35% of the team's damage, especially when you've got a Jace and an Aphelios to try and contend with. That is an insane stat for a Knight and a well-earned MVP here. And this is where we do come back to how strong he has been with these counter picks on the red side. He's gone towards the Victor, worked out great for him in game 2. Now looking towards the Corki, I mean, it's the standard pick, but definitely playing it to perfection in the composition that was set up early from Top Esports. Because when we look at the draft, Top called very early, we're going for this play. We are taking the Jace, and once you see the Jace, you're like, okay, you're poking, you're disengaged. That's the way you're working.
Honestly, after the IG semi-final, I saw the Jace, I was like, well, Top have lost this series, but I mean, I do want to talk as well about Lumao here, because he went for the Yuumi for a second time in this series, and it looked okay in game number 1 alongside an Olaf. They didn't have an Olaf this time, and the Yuumi didn't really feel like it was able to do too much.
So it works well against the Braum. The whole idea is that Braum can't really get on top of you, and you can provide a bunch of poke, and it does work very well with Trundle in the same vein as the Olaf, where you just attach, you speed him up, you get him into this and provide a bunch of CC. But either way, having the Yuumi, I don't think was the problem. Especially the healing she provides is really good against this poke situation. The biggest problem was they didn't have a guaranteed engage on JDG's side. Because you're relying on Trundle running at you. Well, we've got Accelerated Shock Blast. We got Braum. We got a bunch of ways of getting the hell out of dodge. We don't have to worry about that Trundle. Then you look towards Zoom as well on this Renekton. With the control the Top Esports were having on Vision, it never gave the opportunity for Zoom to find the flanks he needed as Renekton. So overall, the engage tools were missing from JDG to get on top of Top Esports, and that's why we saw this long stalemate when we got towards the mid-game, where JDG couldn't engage and Top couldn't find the poke that they wanted to set up for their advantages.
And I feel like with the Ornn being banned away there from Top Esports, bear in mind, JDG are going to be on the blue side of the draft once again, so we could have a rinse repeat. It's very possible. I feel like that Ornn needs to be higher priority, because I feel like Zoom on the Ornn changes this game so much. And this Azir pick coming out from Yagao, I asked you before game number 3 there, does this need to change? Because Yagao doesn't look good on it today.
Look, I think it's a bit unfair to say he doesn't look good. I think it has been working as intended in certain situations, but unfortunately, as he said, like in the current situation where he's not able to get these guaranteed engages off with that composition from Top Esports, 100% agree. Probably wasn't the time to pick it, because it does. You're not ever going to see the likes of Top Esports go aggressive onto you, and then it's really difficult to find these engage Azir Emperor's Divides, because, well, they're running for the hills. There's no way you're going to find them. So I agree, in this certain situation, I don't think the Azir was the right pick. And I think, again, coming back to this draft, we got to see an adaptation come through from JDG, because this was what FPX figured out with that Ornn pick, was if we just contest this all the time, or we take it away, well, suddenly JDG, they start to stumble in this early game. They don't have those same guaranteed engage tools. Now, it didn't work out for FPX, but it definitely was a better situation for them.
Now, I do kind of want to revisit a topic that you're not going to be happy about, because at the start of the day, we put some predictions down, and I told you that Top Esports were going to win this series 3-1 through star power, through bringing chaos into this game and outshining individually. This is your opportunity, Dagda. Do you want to change that prediction?
I would never flip-flop. I am a man of my word. How dare you? No, I won't be flip-flopping here. Well, my prediction is wrong either way, because I did go for the 3-1 for JDG, but still, I agree. I think Top Esports here definitely looking like the stronger team. They've out-macroed, they've outplayed, outperformed, and across the board just been better than JDG here today. And that's a really surprising statement. Not in that I doubted Top Esports capabilities, but that JDG, we set them up as this controlled team. How they get their wins was
3-0'd FPX.
Yeah.
Like, you expect them to come in and kind of dominate. They just beat the world champion 3-0, and FPX by no means looked bad. Like, FPX then went and 3-0'd IG in the third place match as well, so it's not like FPX weren't even performing. JDG looked great coming into this series, and I'm hoping we get to see a little bit more of that, because it felt like maybe this was their game, especially with game 1 was a little bit slower. They managed to take that one, and then suddenly game number 3, it felt slow. It felt like JDG maybe had the advantages they needed.
It feels like we're starting to see the Jackie Love shot calling magic really come through, though. Because don't forget, when we saw them coming into the spring finals, or the spring playoffs, we hadn't seen a huge amount of Jackie Love on this squad. They'd only started to get to grips with him. A month as of tomorrow was when Jackie Love joined that team. So this is now him starting to figure out how the team works. What calls can I make? How quickly will people follow? It takes a little bit of time to get used to, and this only feels like Top Esports are having the up and up as he gets more time to experience with the team.
That's the most impressive thing to me about this team, is that they're just getting started. Top Esports, they're still making mistakes. Like, these games, I'm sure you guys are aware, have not been clean from either side. There have been mistakes galore, but Top Esports are the ones winning out when it comes to those clutch moments. And I think when we look back on this series, whichever way it does end up going, I think that the clutch moments are going to be what really defines this series out from the other LPL finals.
And that's the thing. When you come into a finals, it's not, how well can the team, well, not always how well can the team as a whole play. There are always moments that shine from the individual performances. It's the players who are willing to push the envelope that make or break for these squads. And so far, we've seen Jackie Love in that last game step up with this amazing performance alongside Knight at that Baron to secure the victory for Top Esports. But as we start to get the ball rolling again in towards our next game, can we see JDG have a similar performance? Because it's not like they don't have the talent for it.
Yeah.
This is a squad that across the board, especially that top side of the map.
Brothers.
Yeah, the Dumpling Brothers, Kanavi, our Spring Split MVP. These are the players that we need to see step up alongside Loken. Because when in game number 1, Loken was given this Aphelios pick, game 2, he played his damn heart out.
Yeah.
And it really looked like he might have been able to clean this game up for JDG, but they just fall short. And now, with their backs against the wall, we'll have to see if they can take it up another notch and take on Top Esports.
Yeah, and looking towards the mid lane as well, I'm curious how JDG are going to approach this draft, because when you look at the draft for game number 3 with JDG on the blue side like they will be here for game number 4, they start things off by focusing out Knight. They go Zoe off the board, Syndra off the board, kind of the 2 picks that we know Knight for, certainly the Syndra when it comes to this playoffs. On the other side of the board, Top Esports also ended up banning out the LeBlanc, so you end up with the mid lane champion pools getting pinched pretty significantly. And when we end up on this neutral matchup of the Azir Corki, Knight very clearly has the upper hand in that matchup. When it comes to this Corki play, I mean, Knight, he got the MVP for a reason.
And I think when I look at the draft, I'm like, okay, well, both teams are kind of playing the way you want them to. It's still, we're still seeing Kanavi with this heavy presence towards top side of the map where he's able to play through Zoom's pressure and through Yagao as well. But the problem seems to be more so with JDG's fundamentals, where they are incredibly smart. They will be able to play the map, but their objective control towards top side has been severely lacking. They are the 4th lowest Rift Tower control in the league. And for a team to play so heavily towards topside, for them not to prioritize that makes very little sense to me. And as well, when we see them go towards Dragon, they're only sitting around that 50% mark for Dragons. They're not sky high like the rest of these squads. And that's why you could see the difference here in this game. 15 minutes and not a single neutral objective picked up for JDG, especially when you have the gold lead. You've gone for this team build on the Renekton where you can push a wave and then go and influence the rest of the map. It doesn't make sense that JDG aren't looking to push the envelope with these advantages that they've found and try and set themselves up for success.
Yeah, let's talk about the support role as well, because let's not forget, we got Chocho stepping in here for the finals. It's not who we expected to be in that bottom lane. Throughout playoffs, we saw Yuyanja being played, and towards the end of the split as well, we saw Yuyanja was typically the preference for Jackie Love down in that bottom lane, and a lot of that came down to Yuyanja's Thresh as well. He really excelled on that pick. But as we've moved into the finals, there's been a change in pace. We've seen Chocho coming on in. his Leona looked pretty great in the previous game. Now on the Braum as well, I'm starting to get impressed by Chocho, and he wasn't the player that I think people were expecting to see it.
Especially when we've seen a bit of an issue with Chocho in how he's able to play certain styles of compositions, how he's able to support his jungle and his teammates in certain scenarios. But especially when we've seen Leona, a Braum, a Thresh, these are 3 very distinct styles that you have to hit. So super hyper engage on the Leona, much more of a standoffish Braum, kite back, be more protective. And same with Thresh, who kind of fits into how do I use this lantern to position Jackie Love in an awful lot of situations, because he was playing that Aphelios. But this is where we start to see, okay, Chocho has taken on and again evolved with the team. Maybe it was just a needed that Jackie Love shot calling beside him, because at the time that we saw a lot from Chocho, he was playing with Photic, and Photic really did struggle in that lane. So now that Chocho has got a stronger voice in that bottom lane, someone who can lend himself to lean on the veterancy of Chocho, it seems to be a lot better for them.
Yeah, one other person I want to talk about when it comes to the bottom lane as well as Loken here, because you mentioned him briefly before as well. He has had some highlight moments in these games, especially his Aphelios, as you say, in game number 2. But I want to mention as well that, let's not forget, Loken is up against his old squad here. Loken was on Top Esports back in 2019. He moved out of the squad. Photic stepped up for Top Esports. Photic now being replaced by Jackie Love. And suddenly, Loken makes it to the final on his new team, finds his old squad as his opponents, and is now, with his back against the wall, he's got pride on the line now in game number 4.
And you can feel that grudge match in the bottom lane as well, because they are going ham against each other. But the thing is, you're not getting the support towards Loken. Loken has never really gotten much backup coming through from the squad, and it's actually been the same when you look over at Top Esports. So that's why you feel this, okay, well, we're afraid to go aggressive, because we know chances are junglers aren't going to appear bot side of the map anytime soon. So I think as I start to go into this game a little bit more, maybe we start to see a mix-up come through from JDG, because clearly their game plan isn't working. Maybe we start to see them open up the map, play more towards that bottom side, especially with picks like this Aphelios being opened up quite a bit, being left on the wayside. If they can take that for themselves, play through bottom side, get Loken set up for success, we can see that Loken has been doing a great job in these series, and then you can start to get over towards Dragons, change your objective control and start to prioritize getting this early to mid-game rolling better, because I think that's the difference when we look at Top Esports versus JDG. Top Esports will get this early lead. They will then have this snowball start rolling because they've gotten double Rift Heralds, they've gotten Dragons, and that's how they get the ball rolling.
They do a lot with the Herald as well.
Exactly, and this is the problem when we look towards JDG. In this game, JDG got the early snowball. They got the lead rolling. And then, okay, cool, we got top lane tower.
And hit the pause button.
What happened? Yeah, it just kind of sat there. They didn't try to make plays towards the Dragons. They didn't try to take these Rift Herald plays. They just left them up, and JDG were happy to go, okay, well, we spot Kanavi on the top side of the map. Well, we'll just steal away this dragon. I literally watched Lyric's face getting more and more upset that JDG weren't doing anything with this map pressure, and that was the problem, is the transitional point from early game lead into Top Esports. And actually in the last game we called, hey, maybe we want to see Top Esports match JDG on this early plays, get a bit of an early scaling composition where they can try and go aggressive, and they did it well, but it was that transitional point that saw them fall.
Alright, so coming into game number 4 then, when we look at the draft, do you expect JDG to start to change things up and try and have a little bit more early presence, not just in terms of making that early play, but being able to snowball, being able to find more advantages off the back of that very early play?
I think what I'd like to see them do is get Yagao back onto something where he can have more pressure in the mid, because as you said, this is here hasn't quite been working out for them, and it's not that it's a terrible pick for Yagao, it's just when I look at prime JDG, it's Kanavi working in tandem with Yagao to set up Zoom in the top lane. 3-man dives, 2-man dives, very FPX-esque in the way that they played. But now that we've got the Azir here, it hasn't really been able to have the advantages that we thought for, and especially when we're looking at the bans that are coming through in this series. We've seen a lot towards Zoe, we've seen a lot towards Syndra. I'd love to see, especially that Zoe pick, left open for Yagao, because one of the more potent roaming plays that Yagao has been able to make has been on this Zoe. Push in that wave super aggressively, then start to roam towards topside with Kanavi. You already have these long-range trouble bubbles that can set up plays on that top side. They can pick off Karsa, who's been struggling really hard when Kanavi gets that early lead.
You run a risk if you leave that Zoe open, because Zoe is what Knight made his name on. That is the champion that people know Knight for. You leave that open in the draft and you're not... Bear in mind, they're on blue side, right? So you don't ban that, and realistically, you're probably not going to first pick Zoe. We did right at the start of the split, but right now, it's just not the priority. I'm pretty much going to guarantee that Top are going to grab that mage for themselves.
Well, I feel like if you're coming into this, you can, say, take that Trundle away in the first rotation. That's all well and good. Chances are, with the way this game is going, you leave the Aphelios over towards the far side. And I don't feel like Knight is going to first rotation that pick instead. Probably opting more towards a jungle or support to set up for this Aphelios. And it means that on your own second rotation as JDG, that's where you can take out the Zoe for yourself, again, get yourself set up, and then start moving in towards a stronger game. But again, this is still very up in the air, because even if you get that early lead, well, JDG haven't been doing anything with it. So we're calling for them to fight Top Esports, but it feels like nearly JDG have realized, hey, look, if we just try and handshake as we go in towards the mid game, we don't really try to do too much. Top will over-aggress at some point.
Yes.
They'll slip and we can collapse.
Or will they? Because we've seen that Top's aggression has been pretty tempered, and I think that there's a distinct difference between Top in game number 1, where they did over-aggress, they did overstep, they tried to go for the Baron and were denied. From that point, I think the key word for Top Esports has been patience. They have been way more reserved, they've been way more willing to play it by the book and make sure that everything is guaranteed. Well, I say that. They did go for a 3v5 in the last game, so maybe that's overstating it slightly. But I do want to commend JDG on one thing, because you know, this top lane, this Top Esports, dive in that last game, when they dived in the bottom side of the map to make the play, it was actually kind of reminiscent to Top Esports overcommitting to Zoom in game number 1. And the whole of JDG responds and goes, we're going to fight you, we're going to protect Zoom. And it felt a little bit like that in that dive. This time it went the way of Top Esports, but again, it was like JDG saying, we're going to commit to this fight. We are not going to let we're no man left behind. We fight as a team.
And I feel like that's the confidence that Jackie Love has brought with them onto this roster. Don't forget, I mean, 369, Knight, even, well, not Yuanji here today, but these are newer players. I mean, both 369 and Knight only really started to get their themselves into the LPL in that 2019 split. Like, yes, we did see Knight on Suning, but never really got his start there. So this is a newer roster, and I still think bringing in the veterancy of Jackie Love, who has been a shot caller, has been on the IG roster since 2018, has brought so much with us.
The man's a damn world champion, after all. Like, if you want someone that counts as a veteran, that counts as an experienced player, I think a world champion ticks pretty much every one of those boxes. Jackie Love coming in, and as we've said, has changed the face of this team. And I think as well, like we say it every single time, but Knight has looked amazing this series. 369 though. He has stepped up, because up against Zoom, arguably the best top laner in the LPL, but after this series, maybe not, because 369, he's making an argument for himself.
And I'd love to see 369 and Knight both pick up a win here today, because when we look towards 369, he's been top since the beginning. He played for King of Future, which was Top Esports sister team, then moved over towards the main roster. You see Knight, who, yes, started on Suning, but has been stuck with Top Esports for such a long time. And it feels like just giving these guys the opportunity to not only prove themselves here today, like you talk about with 369 stepping up, but on an international level as well would be amazing.
And on the other side of the board, JDG, kind of a similar story when you look at these players that have been around for a long time and have been trying and trying and trying to make it to that first place spot. We said it right at the very start of the day. Whoever loses out this series, it's going to be a very familiar taste of defeat in playoffs.
These teams have not been able to lift the cup for themselves at all so far in the LPL. JDG being shut down in 2019 summer by IG. Now JDG again in having the opportunity to be shut down by Jackie Love here today.
You could see the difference between the two mid laners there. He's got a massive smile on the side of Knight. And on the other side, Yagao, you know, kind of quiet, confident. It doesn't look like he's defeated just yet, but certainly not having quite as much fun. Then again, Zoom looks like he's having a bit of a whale of a time, so maybe some banter going on in the chat. But I would actually love to get in the pre-game lobbies between these guys, see what's being said, because I'm sure that there are plenty of high-class memes going on.
I was
going
to say, how many of these are just steak and wine, just over and over towards Zoom? That would be amazing.
Well, we'll have to see if Zoom gets any steak and wine tonight, or whether it's going to be Top Esports that walk away victorious. It's time to jump into game number 4 as we kick it over to our casters once more.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for being patient with us. We are slowly heading into game here, and just about to, I should say. My name's Asterix. I'm joined by Lyric to take us through game number 4. And a lot of history behind these players. There's a lot of anger, I'm sure, from Top Esports and JDG towards IG for the past year. But for Top Esports, they've always been so close, right? Semi-finals through spring. Regional finals, game 5, taken down by Invictus Gaming, denied Worlds. So their first championship here. Now at match point would be a bit of a reprieve here for this team that's always been so close.
Yeah, and again, they've always had the level of talent to pull it off, but not having the level of experience of a lot of our veteran squads.
Where JDG want the same, but now they have to force us to the silver scrapes here. Game 4 begins now. Into pick and ban, and you can see no real changes. JDG this time have gone, okay, Knight again, but maybe there is a change with the Trundle.
Pretty exactly,
right,
there you go.
Get there yet,
and big change is JDG this time saying, hey, that Aphelios did work out. We want to pick that up ourselves. We saw how that worked out for TES last game.
Yep.
And now TES taking away the Ornn, which is great. Again, Zoom has looked amazing on that champion. And then just picking up the misfortune for themselves.
So scary when you go to Darkness and shift over to Ornn and he's waiting there for you. Actually quite a brute. As Top Esports, it looks like we're just shifting 80 carries though, aren't we? We're going from Misfortune, Aphelios, and guys happy to do the handshake in the bottom lane again.
You know, but moving to the mid lane, I was going to say, I wonder where Yagao is going to go. That LeBlanc is still left open, and of course going to feel good for this. And then again, Thresh is probably the best blind pick support in the sense that you want something that provides safety towards your Aphelios, but Braum and Tahm Kench do unlock the Yuumi, so I love this coming out from Lumao as well.
Especially when Lumao, one of the best roaming supports in the league last year, I mean, this sets him up again, right? And especially when Yagao on this LeBlanc, there's a lot of versatility and that win rate that we can't deny, now sitting at 10-0 on LeBlanc.
Yep,
as we're just going to get the bottom lane Nautilus.
Yep, Nautilus, of course, doing pretty well into Thresh with that all-in potential, having a lot of early damage. Now I expect to see TS actually just ban out Zoom. We've seen that Zoom has such a limited champion pool. You've already taken away the Ornn for yourself. Again, he's only actually played 4 other champions. He's played Set, Mordekaiser, GP, and Maokai. So this guy doesn't have a very wide champion pool.
We're not going there yet, Lyric. If we talk about Zoom, his champion pool going to remain intact because it's about getting rid of Kanavi from his Olaf. So jungle bans versus mid against Knight.
Yeah, makes me think, and just even knowing Top Esports, right, that they're going to head towards something like a Lee Sin on 4.
Oh, okay.
Which you don't really need to do because JDG have already shown their mid laner, so you can even just look to pick up your mid lane champion early, but Mordekaiser ban, something I like.
Okay. Also, you're going to get rid of Knight's Corki on the other side, so we got 4 mid lane bans towards Knight. That's just kind of the performance he had in last game. Very representative of how much attention Knight gets in these games.
Yeah, and you're gonna have a lot of options into what you can pick into the LeBlanc. We've already seen the Lissandra. The Analyst Desk already talked about that Knight isn't the type of player that you think of as like a neutralizing lane.
True.
But still, they have a lot of setup for a great team fight, and Lissandra's only going to add to that.
Now, before, you were mentioning for JDG's top lane Zoom, his GP is what he pulled out in Game 5 last year against FPX when they made the dream run. We're not at that point here, but the GP saves lives here for JDG's top laners.
And you've already set up such good scaling options from the GP and the Aphelios, and you're going to have a very good ability to play through mid with that Cannon Barrage, of course, with all the kind of skirmishing potential that LeBlanc brings as well.
If you're talking about skirmishing, though, what else but the Silas to finish it off? Yeah,
and again, it's pretty interesting because Silas not really going to pair that well with LeBlanc. Typically, you want a jungler that can gank mid very easily. Knight can have a very easy option to just take magic resist in his runes and just prioritize that early in his build. And we look at the side of Top Esports locking in that Lee Sin like we expected. They just have a really standard front-to-back teamfight. Has a pretty good mid-game power spike as well with the Lissandra and the Misfortune. And I'd say it's just very stock and standard LPL.
Yeah, I agree. Like if we use words like skirmishes and we see the champions like the LeBlanc, and I guess the Lissandra I'm a little bit unhappy about again, but moving forward, let's find a conclusion here, because these games have been about the mid game realistically, and to that transition there. What does it look like on the board here for JDG starting up?
For JDG, it is going to be about creating picks, and the thing I like is you have global pressure coming out from that GP ultimate. You have a lot of aggressive potential coming out from both Sylas and LeBlanc once Sylas gets a few levels under his belt. So we want to see these, you know, level 4, level 5, and then especially level 6 once GP gets that cannon barrage, skirmishes, right?
Yeah.
You need to start fighting pretty early on the side of JDG.
We get attention towards the bottom lane with the GP and the LeBlanc there as well, right? We know how easy it is to set up Loken and Lumao, who are actually having a decent series themselves as well. I think Loken performing great in playoffs. So if there is attention to be put towards the bottom side, or even enabling him earlier on the Aphelios, I think that potential goes up.
Problem is, you don't really think of Aphelios as an early game champion, right?
No,
Does want to get to that 3-item point, but when you have Cannon Barrage, when you have the LeBlanc and the Thresh in the bottom lane, you know, going to be very easy to set up these kinds of kills. But knowing JDG, it is typically more about invading the enemy jungle rather than, you know, actually ganking the lanes themselves.
Kanavi's individual pressure. That's what we came into the series talking about. And again, just to revisit what the narrative was when we were jumping into this one, it was Brain versus Brawn. Now, we've seen a bit of both from Top Esports, and to be fair, we've seen a bit of both from JDG. But as we run on in, match point. Top Esports are at this point now. All they need is one more game win to take out the championship.
Hey guys, it's RPK. I just want to wish the best of luck to Top Sports for the finals this weekend.
There's a cat drinking wine. I'm not sure about that one.
The cheers was amazing. Oh.
As we go forward, again to reiterate, Top Esports are one win away from their championship title here in 2020 spring. JDG need that win to bring us the silver scrapes. It comes down to this here as we run into Game 4.
And again, I like both the compositions on both sides of the map, but I'd say the big differentiator is JDG, it's going to be a lot more about these like skirmishes, like 2v2s, 3v3s, again, abusing that GP ultimate, where TES, they're going to shine a lot more in the straight-up 5v5. Wombo combo is obviously a great way to describe it.
Okay, I like the sound of that. We'll keep an eye on the Wombo combo. I want you also to note that 369 has taken the unsealed spellbook here on the Ornn. That's important because during playoffs, we've seen a lot of Baron steals already, and they have come from Ornns. So with unsealed spellbook, of course, with the double smite that gives you, that's always something to look out for.
Yeah, of course, just taking it in lanes that he's a bit of a tougher time in, not going to be able to easily proc that grasp, and just getting more utility in the fact that he can change his summoner spells.
Fun to see Ornn versus GP. Of course, if there was Klepto still in the game, that'd be a very different story with the rune first, I'm sure. But at this point, Cast is going to be starting on the bottom side. You can also see that Kanavi on this Sylas went for the red start and is in the same position. So flexing around the bot for maybe the top rotation as they start getting towards the end of their camp.
Yeah, that's the most interesting thing, right, is that both teams are full clearing towards top side. You do have, typically when we do see ganks top, it is in these first few levels where they both are very vulnerable. You do have setup there on both sides, right? Kanavi will have CC coming out from his E, and then on the side of TS, Ornn going to be able to set up these kills for then Carson to provide the damage.
Ooh, but flash from Lumao early, level 1 on this bottom lane, while Jackie Love and Chocho are level 2.
Yeah, so TS just getting the level 2 first. Seems like JDG misreading the wave a little bit. And I've already said that Nautilus just has so much early damage, is obviously innately tankier than the Thresh. And then getting the level advantage, I mean, just makes it easy.
At least for Loken, he's going to have Severum here, so he should be able to heal up. Also, Lumao with the shoulder plate should be able to give him a bit of sustain as well. So won't be a problem in the end, but getting pushed in the bottom lane, that's where we start there for the Jackie Love versus Loken lane. While we look across and we now have our junglers tracked up towards the top side of the map as stated before. Maybe a contention for the Rift Scuttler will be coming through shortly.
Well, we're at a point where 369's wave is pushing into Zoom, and we just saw that Knight's wave was going to be bouncing back into JDG's side of the map. So Karsa should feel very fine to just take this with both of his laners able to follow.
Kanavi's just going to be backing off. Knight actually in the mid lane going to get chained down for a second though. But Knight still has the wave there, so confidence here from Karsa, who's just continuing to track Kanavi.
Yeah, and just keeping this scuttle around mid, which is nice because actually turns out Zoom maybe was just holding the wave, does have it pushing into 369, so Karsa holding it around mid lane where he is pressure.
Now going to be making an appearance here as well. Good route down in place as well. Karsa jumps on in, but of course, are you going to find the gank? No, just to help to push out the wave with Knight.
Exactly, just shadowing, making sure that Knight can get that reset. Of course, if Yagao made a mistake, always would be able to capitalize on it.
This is the interesting barrel gameplay. It's the one that Zoom doesn't normally play this. I'm actually surprised he wouldn't do the BM and do the FTX skip, but then again, it's not out, so I excuse myself.
Yeah, I was gonna. Well, glad you caught yourself on that one.
Yeah.
And again, from the side of JDG, I expect a slower early game. You're not typically going to gank the GP lane. If you do, you will try first clear if 369 is overextended. They weren't able to find that. Falfilius wants a few more levels. Silas as well typically wants to get that first clear, get a few more components of his jungle item like he just did, and now he'll start being able to look for skirmishes on the map. And again, typically we think about the mid lane, but double AP makes it very easy for Knight to itemize.
Very true. Skirmishing to begin soon, so I'm keeping an eye on those levels, as mentioned before, as 369 just running face here at Zoom, doing a good job with the way pushing against him. You can see Kanavi now back on the map going for his second round clear. Will be spotted on a ward, so it's interesting to see that Top Esports actually tracking as Chocho. Okay, the play's going to come through. Lumao, if he had that extra turret shot, could have been a bit of trouble, as this is warded.
Yeah, but again, TES have the bot lane push, so typically TES here would go for that early Drake. We've seen Karsa love starting up these neutrals. Anytime he has mid and whatever side lane priority, they're going to do that.
And there he goes, begins. Kanavi topside for now. Karsa with a bit of a level lead, by the way, as well, but that won't last for long. There's a bit of an invade from Kanavi as Knight has to dodge away from the binding, and does. Yagao, very serious kill threat with Kanavi nearby.
LeBlanc, of course, does have pressure in the straight-up 1v1. Lissandra more about neutralizing, doesn't actually come out ahead in these trades.
Not if the Glacial Prison comes through and into the mid. The Sonic Wave, resonating strike gets first blood. And now Knight looks for Kanavi. The Frozen Thrall doesn't hit, but it doesn't need to. Karsa was there first.
And I love this because the guys on the desk said it earlier. This is where Top Esports were struggling early in the split. They were not playing well through the mid-jungle 2v2. And it's surprising that since Jackie Love has come in, makes you think, Karsa probably shot calling before relieving those duties and now letting him focus more on his own gameplay. And we're seeing it work wonders for that mid-jungle.
Really clean start here. Watch this one again.
Yeah, just great. Like, Knight sets it up so well. Good Sonic Wave coming in from Karsa. Now Kanavi not in a position where he can really do anything else.
Flash burn for that one as well, but well worth it here, at least in first blood. Karsa set up in position here. This is what Top Esports want. As now for the bottom lane, heal's going to be burnt. Cannon Barrage comes down. Lumao still has a death sentence available. Looking for Chocho as Graviton comes through, and he can't dredge line away. The turnaround though from Jackie Love. The damage, is it enough? No, because the play still there while Loken and Lumao say g'day. Lumao with an auto attack needed here as Loken heals for the movement speed, flashes forward, and the chakrams come out in time. We look towards the top side because there's, of course, more action. Yagao and soon the Dumpling Brother duo come in hard, and 369 without a jungler. The flash forward, it's Captain Jack Sparrow returning for game 4.
JDG winning on both sides of the map. This isn't what you would expect from them, especially their bot lane playing so well. Not exactly a 2v2 kill, a little bit of help from Zoom, but still great play coming out from them. And then Yagao covering on the other side of the map was absolutely beautiful.
Ooh, in all sides of the map, well said, Lyric. This is how it went again.
Yeah, and we see that JDG coming in position, they were able to get that kill on Jackie Love on the bot side, which we'd already seen, and just great play coming out from both Yagao and Zoom, focusing on Karsa, and then easily able to follow up on 369.
Zoom got that kill. Zoom has Sheen. And Zoom is sitting on a lot of gold right now. Zoom on Gangplank, I have to say, is one of the best GPs in the world. And he's pretty close to Triforce, about 1,300 gold off.
JDG just doing such a good job at playing around those picks, setting up those global ultimates, and looking for these 2v2s and 3v3s that their composition wants.
Now for Top Esports, they say, what can we do around the map with Karsa? Considering that JDG just found a lot of holes, a lot of gaps against Top Esports.
But once again, we don't typically see.
Okay, sir, Yagao in a pickle, but a dark passage saves his life with the shield as well. Lumao again performing well.
JDG never rotate for this Herald. They've done it constantly where they say, hey, we're not going to look for this, or they're typically behind. So TES, once again, going to be able to pick up a neutral objective. And from the start of this game, when we saw Karsa and Knight pick up that first kill, I was thinking to myself, oh my god, we've seen this before. It's been all about this mid lane 2v2 or 2v1, finding these advantages. So it was nice to see JDG answer in return, but Dragon and Rift Herald being for the side of TS, again, feels good.
Okay, we're going to see what the Herald goes, because in this top lane, a gank's going to be coming through. Zoom gets locked up, kick to the side. Sparrow, oh no, it's the Davy Jones matchup with Kanavi coming in as well. Chain Lash is down, but Kanavi unable to trade back while we look at the bottom side. More blood through. Loken left on an island with Jackie Love finally picking up his first kill of the game. And we're going to get a pause here, ladies and gentlemen. It looks like there was too much blood here, and the most in our early game to, I guess, continue us forward. So we apologize about that. We'll see what the issue is. But Lyric, this game, this early game in particular, feels good.
Yeah, there's definitely a ton of action. And again, a bit of confusion right before we kind of left with TES picking up 2 kills and JDG picking up 1. But I guess that's the name of the game, right? We've seen a ton of kills so far.
We really have, and throughout multiple lanes as well. That's what's impactful. That's what's important, especially when the bottom lane is starting to come out of its shell a bit. Loken and Lumao with the earlier trade against Jackie Love.
Anyone who's been watching any region in Season 10 knows that it's not really about these kills in the bot lane. You have a lot of handshake support matchups, Nautilus into Braum, Nautilus into Leona, Thresh into Braum, and again, it doesn't open up a lot of action, but still JDG playing very aggressively, and especially when you have the cannon barrage on the other side of the map, does set you up well. We even see Knight rotating bot when JDG are making plays top, so funny to see the focus of the series change so heavily.
Especially when you started talking about in the early part of Game 4 how JDG want to skirmish. And even though we put the bottom lane aside for a second, we look at the rest of the map and JDG are skirmishing well. Now they did just lose out on a trade before we came to this pause, where Top Esports then dropped the Herald. So it's going to be interesting to see what the cause is here, because Top Esports now have a big sweep of momentum that they can take advantage of.
And the thing that's great is seeing Karsa once again play well. Karsa on this Lee Sin pick is just a different monster, mechanically so on point, again, hitting all of those sonic waves and executing so well. And we saw last game, when Knight and Jackie Love show up, you know, it's already enough to dominantly win a game. Add Karsa informed of that mix, and it's just so scary.
You get that Divine 3, right? Throughout the regular season end and start of playoffs, we started mentioning Top Esports by Divine 3, because it was already Knight and Karsa, big names. It was Jackie Love as well. I will wait for the reasoning of that pause, but ladies and gentlemen, we are back into Summoner's Rift right now. And we return after complimenting JDG a little bit. Again, it was Top Esports with a turn of momentum. The Rift Herald was not put down to reconfirm, but Jackie Love and Knight down in the bottom wave. They're going to get a bit of turret plating before getting forced out by the cannon barrage from Zoom.
Again, we didn't see what happened, but still, Lumao obviously didn't go down, so the fact that TS committed Knight to bot side and then Loken was able to trade 1-for-1 by taking out Chocho is a bit of a win. Oh, so we're actually going to see. Oh, okay, so Lumao is on the top side of the map. TS are committing 3 men to the bot lane, and now it's going to be interesting how Loken is able to pull this off, but Crescendum Severum, we see the ultimate go down just having enough damage. And again, that's actually a small win. They committed 3 members, you end up in a 1-for-1.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about that. 2-1 and 1 here. We've got a BF Sword and Pickaxe picked up after that trade as well from Loken, so Jackie Love was able to stay in the wave, but Loken ends up going back anyway. Picks up closer towards that Infinity Edge start. Essence Reaver almost picked up for Jackie Love as well. I'm looking across the board, Lyric, because I'm going, who's going to get the first item? Well, Warriors Enchant and Runic Echo's already picked up, but Karsa, he has the boots fully upgraded, and he has the Ruby Crystal as well.
Well, the most important thing on the map still is this Rift Herald, right, and where Karsa wants to look with
Very
it.
true.
To where I always love to see it used mid if you can. Does open up the map. They're finally going to do it. We've typically seen top look towards one of their side lanes.
But their bottom lane's rotating up for this as well. Kanavi hasn't been spotted out.
They have push in the bot lane, so Loken's still stuck bot. They should just be able to secure this and then turn towards that dragon and force a fight if they want. We saw 369 able to walk down, but instead 369 just going to walk back up towards the top lane.
Yeah, because he says it's fine, guys. You know, I got TP. I got heal as well, so don't worry about that. Second dragon on the horizon here, and Top Esports have a 1k gold lead. This is an early game yet again that Top Esports are controlling. There's only been one game where they've fallen behind early, and they won that. That was game 3. So this is a good sign for Top Esports, who are really pushing this game forward, now into a Mountain Soul Rift with an Ornn on their team.
And we see JDG trying to find a kill in the mid lane right now, but not able to. Knight playing respectfully. And LeBlanc plus Sylas, again, doesn't have the synergy you'd think of something like a LeBlanc with a Rek'Sai or LeBlanc with a Lisa, and something very easily able to set up kills.
True.
And we've seen Kanavi just hasn't really shown up, not only in this game, but kind of in this series in comparison to Karsa.
In this series, it has been about Karsa. I mean, so well said, because Karsa has come to play here today. He's got a level lead with this in this individual game. He's got CS lead, he's got the kills on top of him as well. But most importantly, that communication that was talked so heavily about before is really coming up massively here for Top Esports. And I want to see, once more, how they transition into this mid game, which has been so damn important. Dragons are far way away, but with that mid lane turret gone, with turret plating a minute and 30, these next couple of moves from Top Esports have my curiosity.
Top Esports can try to look and punish towards that top side. We see, Zoom has the global, so maybe not wanting to look for that bot lane skirmish. Knight can constantly push. There is no mid lane turret for Yagao, and then we can see Knight and Karsa move as this two-man unit. Moving to the other side for JDG, it's all about bot. You have the cannon barrage up for Zoom. You have constantly hovering around bot side. We've seen them find the kills before.
Yeah.
Just keep doing that and try to get this bot lane turret down.
And he has Trinity Force now as well, so that cannon barrage is going to start outputting a bit more damage. Note that Zoom is almost level 11, so the extra level there to boot. And at this point for Zoom, I mean, we look at this top lane, and Zoom is actually just having a great time. So this is still going to be a big GP if JDG can get the fight they want later on.
JDG do have some options with how they can engage the fight, right? You have a lot of pick potential coming in from both Lumao and Kanavi. You have a bit of range coming out from Yagao being able to pop his head in and out. But for TES, they have straight up a gauge. They have a Nautilus, they have an Ornn. They should be the ones dictating the pace of these fights. So once again, TES, all about the straight up 5v5, JDG, smaller picks, smaller skirmishes.
Using the LeBlanc assassination that we've seen turn games in the LPL many times before. We are at a bit of a lull state at this point as well. Note that turret plating has just dropped down. Knight has the shove through mid. The vision control maintained by Top Esports towards this top side, because there is another Herald that will be spawning soon. And for Top Esports, they're controlling blue side jungle.
It's great. Again, GP is the one with the global ultimate.
Okay, Box is going to be pulled on down because Stretchline misses here, but the depth charge on the backline. Loken can't land the ulti. Exhaust onto Jackulov. 2 versus 2. I love this region. Loken is getting ignited while Chocho heals and flushes away. Loken is at 1/3 of his health, and the bottom lane pulls back.
Still, Loken playing so aggressively. It's beautiful to see they still have the heal up. You have the Lantern coming out from Lumao. Overall, great play from JDG's bot lane.
Okay. Well, we've got a couple of summoners down for the Nautilus and his ultimate for the time being. The bottom lane continues to push in here on the side of JDG. Now, Loken has both his summoners available, so maybe we'll check in shortly, see how that one's going. But for now, Rift Herald started. JDG, are they willing to contest?
No way. JDG, we see that Yagao doesn't have a position to move over. JDG's bot lane isn't here. So as JDG, you just back off. You concede the fact that they have pressure in both mid and top. It's not worth it.
Okay, well, you're very much right, sir. This is why I rely on you. Rift Herald going to be picked up by Karsa in the end. What are we looking towards top side?
What did we miss?
Oh, Cannon Barrage was used. Fair enough. Just to defend the turret in the top side, letting us know, thank you, observers, that there is no Cannon Barrage for Zoom, which still has quite a long cooldown at this point, halfway to getting that off completion. While we look back to live, the bottom lane turret here by Loken, taken away. So Aphelios has a lot of natural gold in it.
True, and a better thing is now JDG can start looking to transition to this 1-3-1 setup with Loken and Lumao, the ones to hold mid lane, while Yagao is trying to find pressure in a side lane.
Now, with 1-3-1 compositions for JDG, at this point we know a lot of it is about vision, about the setup there, and how safely you can push out and how much pressure you can demand.
Well, I don't want to call it straight up 1-3-1 for the fact that
Might have time, sir. I think we're just exhausting out. Tell me.
You don't expect LeBlanc to actually go and hit the bot lane turret against Lissandra, right? It still is about pushing and moving. It's not necessarily taking advantage of that to take a structure.
But that's the setup, right?
Yeah, it's about pulling TS across the map and then trying to, collapse somewhere first, pick someone in Fog of War.
Unless you want to force it here, he still gets rooted up with the Glacial Prison. Knight looking for the follow through. Top Esports are collapsing in. Here comes the call of the Forge God through the choke. Kanavi left out as well. He stole the ult while 369 rams his head into a wall. Bakasa in with the flank onto Yagao, and that LeBlanc now jumps on back. That was nice from Yagao, while Zoom, he stays away from this fight. Top Esports are going to have to pick up the Dragon because of it.
Yeah, but Zoom throwing down that cannon barrage, but no one on JDG jumping in with him, so just looking for a bit of a cheeky steal. Not able to secure that, though.
That was, okay, we're going to see a TP to the top side, but that's just Knight matching it. That was an interesting play, and it could have gone so much worse for JDG. Top Esports in the end, though, they do pick up the Mountain Dragon. One away from this soul here, yet again.
I like what Top Esports are doing. They're not getting pulled across the map by JDG. They're just all inning on a small area saying, hey, we're going to do better than you here. And for Mountain Soul, you have an Ornn, you have a Nautilus, even Lissandra picking up some resistances, and Mountain Soul just completely stops anything that LeBlanc wants to do. This is going to hurt Yagao so much going into the mid and late game.
I was going to say, he definitely doesn't want this to be given over, so does that mean I'm looking towards a contest in 4 minutes 20? Does JDG have to take this soul away from them to stay ever so relevant towards the rest of this game?
Yes, and looking at scaling, JDG were feeling good. They're like, hey, we have a Gangplank, we have an Aphelios. We might not have the most reliable options of finding picks or pressure. We will be able to count on side lanes, but still, when you look at TS's comp, when it has Mountain Soul, it's a completely different conversation, and it's an easier composition to execute. Group up as 5, push your ultimates, you know, profit.
You use that keyword front to back, right? And for Top Esports, when the front is unbeatable, how do you even find your way into the back? More on that a little bit later because I want to move forward here. I see that 369 is grouping more. Has the Ghost, has just lost his ult to Kanavi, which is probably not what you want. But Top Esports are actually grouping mid. Knight sent to the side lane, simply to match JDG at this point, it feels.
Top Esports just moving to the mid lane, making sure that JDG aren't able to do anything with their push from side lanes. But now Karsa moving over, making sure that Knight can secure this Zoom, not going to be able to walk forward. And JDG not in position to force anything on the opposite side of the map. Of course, now it just does even out the turret trade, right? We're at 2 for 2.
They are pinging mid though. So Curiosity has me here for now. Kanavi with the ultimate available. 369 with the engage. Denied by Lumao, gets pulled on in. Call the Forge God used by Kanavi onto JackieLove. He still has the bullet time available. Exhaust goes on down. Chocho hit on out with the real. Call the Forge God coming through. JackieLove over the cannon barrage while Karsa looks for his entrance into the fight. Yagao jumps on forward, but that's it. Herald now drops mid. There's no Baron, there's nothing towards the top side. JDG are poking top down.
Chocho has to recall, and still, JDG wanted that engage. They were hoping they'd go for it, but they quickly realized, hey, we can't walk through this choke. JackieLove's under turret. He can just open up his bullet time, and then it's not going to be good for us. But still, the fact that you force Karsa into a situation where he couldn't find a good use for that Herald is great.
Yep, wasted down through the mid lane, got absolutely nothing, and JDG returned to what they were doing before. Remember, it's only a 500 gold lead here for JDG, so it's really nothing to dispute between the two teams. In fact, at this point, I want to look through items again, because we're at 20 minutes. We're towards that Mountain Soul that you said was critical. We've got a 2-item GP with Essence Reaver, but we've also got a 2-item Ornn here for 369, so I'm very curious as to this end fight.
And GP does best when the enemy runs into him. Very awkward interaction to run forward and set up your barrels. Does much better when they're coming into you. And Top Esports composition definitely going to run into you, so Zoom should have a good time putting this damage out. To me, the more interesting thing to see is how is Yagao going to try and transfer his pressure from a side lane across the map. We have Dragon up in 1 minute and 20 seconds. JDG need to contest, so we're going to get some action.
Okay, so I'm looking towards Yagao. That's what you're telling me. I'm looking for what Yagao can accomplish here. And to get to the back line, is it about JackieLove? Is it about Knight? What speaks to you for Top Esports to set this up?
So, on the side of Top Esports, it's all about protecting JackieLove. You look at their composition, it's pretty much a one-threat comp. Sure, Knight can have some damage in on that Lissandra, but it completely pales in comparison to the damage coming out from JackieLove's Misfortune. So, the name of the game, just surround JackieLove, right? You have 2 tanks, you have 2 bruisers.
Protect the presence.
Exactly. Create a formation around him, make sure he can do what he wants.
Okay, well, JackieLove has 1.5 items, so at least the damage should be coming through. Knight has Protobelt to reposition or stop the engage here as well. and a very, very tanky Ornn. Look at 369's health bar in front of you. 30 seconds till the Mountain Soul is up. Top Esports group mid, Knight off to the side. Loken gets poked down a little bit, but he has Severum, he should be fine. Hook connects here on the 369, who bellows breaths away. Knight gets his ult stolen. Zoom setting up the barrels, but does nothing to 369. Glacial Path going to come through, but not taken. If JDG lose this fight, the series could be over. Top Esports don't want this to go to a game 5. It could hinge on this.
And now that Kanavi does have Knight's ult, our eyes should be on him.
Oh, a trench line connects onto Lumao though. Stopwatch going to be used. Caster comes in for the kick. Does he find it? No. Kanavi goes invulnerable in the nick of time, flashes away. Called Forge Goal with a bullet time. Lines them up while Knight looks for Loken but can't find the solo kill. JDG want to go on this Lissandra, but Knight dodges away from the chains. Yagao on the chase, pulls away. But after that, with Lumao going down, is this the Mountain Soul?
Yeah, great hook from Chocho setting this up. And now TES, they have numbers advantage. JDG can try to poke them out over the wall with Yagao though.
And no setup from Zoom. Loken and this top laner standing together. TP coming through, they find the engage. Dredgeline doesn't connect, but forces Zoom over the wall with a kick into the enemy team. Caster happy to trade his life. JDG find the jungler, but with Kanavi over the wall, maybe not. We're going towards Yagao. Chocho here with the aftershock, survives. But Top Esports are pulling away because Caster's dead.
Top Esports being a bit too hasty. You have Knight's TP coming in. You could just turn onto the Dragon. You don't need to feel pressured to force that fight, and feels like a big misstep by Top.
Okay, well, we're still not done though, because Yagao over the wall. Knight is going to look for this. Proto Belt used for the engage. Yagao flashes away, but now the rest of them are here. Golden he will go, but Top Esports mid laner gets Dredgeline in. Can't Glacial Path away. Locked in place. JDG are going to deny this one, with Top Esports trying to reposition. What do they find? 369 doesn't have Call the Forge God. Teleport's going to be coming in here as well. Dredgeline onto Loken, but Chocho not taking enough. In they go once again. Top Esports are faltering in front of the objective. JDG find it, deny the soul, and the game goes on.
Name of the game was Protect Jackie Love. They weren't able to do it. Lumao finding such a good hook. Now JDG may be feeling bold enough to try and force a fight at Baron, but Karsa is alive. Karsa does have Smite.
Okay, so JDG field control. Is this a misstep? At this point, it does not feel like it is. Knight with 5 seconds, Yagao gets stretch line in, pulled on up, knocked on up as well. Over the wall, Lumao finds himself as well. Call the Forge God, gonna be nailed onto this support. But Baron is going down at 2k. Top Esports Caster into the back of the pit, gets the kick, but he's down. And JDG felt like this series was over. No longer. They get the Baron, and this could be going the distance.
JDG showing so much patience. They get the Baron low, they wait, they get Karsa in, they burst him down. And you're right, as of right now, it looks like we could be heading towards the game 5.
I tell you what, start queuing up that music, it's feeling like it. However, for JDG, about what they do with this Baron, 3k gold lead in hand. And big key members coming out in the form of Yagao, Loken. Really trying to nail this one down.
But now the name of the game is going back towards that 1-3-1 setup, splitting up the map. You have a couple minutes to work with before the Dragon's up. I want to see JDG pressuring with all 3 lanes.
Okay, let's see that split. Zoom moving towards the bottom side. Yagao is actually setting up to match 9 at this point. And Loken on this Aphelios is 3 items strong. So in the 3 section, there's going to be really fast pushing here if Top Esports aren't able to quell him back.
And let's go over to Top Esports real quick and say they still are on Soul Point.
Yes.
If they can get that, it does negate a lot of the damage coming out from JDG, especially from Yagao's LeBlanc.
Well said. I will keep myself reserved for the next 3 minutes at the very least. Unless something crazy happens with this Baron. Zoom sitting in the side wave. Top Esports are shadowing this lane, looking for Zoom. They won't get the knock up here with the Searing Charge, but Zoom getting chased down until they know Knight and Karsa have committed Glacial Path over the wall. Zoom just going to chase them back. Kanavi coming in as well. But JDG kind of running them around the map.
And for TES, when you're in a position like this, you just need to pick one side, either mid or bot, and say, hey, we're okay with losing a bit in one area. We need to full-on commit to getting this pick and dissuade the siege from JDG.
Oh, you speak of picks, Yagao might have found it onto Jackie Love.
Whoa.
Sigil's there, slowed on down, making it rain. Yagal, Willie dive, of course, it's a LeBlanc. Heel's going to be burnt, the turnaround, into the wall, bullet time! And they've found their pick, but the cannon barrage flushed away from. Jackie survives, but you talk about picks. JDG are making it mid. Onto the inhibitor turret that goes down while Chocho is the next target. The chain lash will get the slow. JDG may lose their mid laner, but they break the base and they're grouping with Zoom.
Knight went down somewhere in that mix as well, so just a 1-for-1, and JDG able to completely open up the base.
Navi can't find the re-engage. The base broken on the bottom side now as well. Inhibitor number 2 will drop. As Baron expires in 30 seconds for JDG, that might be enough now, holding the base in the palm of their hands.
Still, that's exactly what JDG wanted. You found just enough. 2 inhibitors is completely massive, and now you can play a patient game in front of the Dragon. You don't need to feel as pressured with TS being on soul point.
We'll have a look at this again, because Knight got caught.
Just great hook from Lumao.
Like you said, the support's been playing fantastically through the series. Steps up when it counts. Finds that hook, Knight goes down, and the rest of the base follows suit. Only the top range of turrets standing there right now. The Baron has now expired. Soul point in a minute. JDG can further deny this. Then the sky's the limit at this point here, especially within the Grand Final series.
JDG now can just set up the top wave to push. Looks like they actually might just try and secure the turret, but it's going to be really dicey with securing this and then moving over to Dragon in time.
45 seconds, about how quickly they can do it, isn't it?
They have an Ophelio, so they can do this pretty fast.
All right, well, you got Demolish as well from Zoom. That's pretty quick. They might want a little bit more. Keep Top Esports in the base, because if they go out for Soul, they may just lose the game at this point.
That's true. So JDG right now not even thinking about Soul, just keeping TS locked in their base. They do have pressure from all 3 lanes with the fact that they have 2 lanes of super minions.
Okay, bit of extra gold Top Esports save, but now with Soul on the line, 20 seconds till it spawns. JDG walking through and taking everything. For Top Esports, they need a bit of a miracle here to find this fight. Zoom setting up once again, and Jackie Love, if he dies, we're going to Game 5.
We need to be on the lookout for a great call of the Forge God coming out from 369, a good flank coming in from Karsa, and setting up Jackie Love for a massive bullet time.
Onto the Dragon they begin. Top Esports are looking to contest this. The dredge line doesn't connect, nor does the death sentence for Dragon. Oh, Castle, where did you come from? The soul secured. The fight back to front is there. Knight for the engage. 369 doesn't find the knockup, but onto the back line. They will get the lockdown on Jackie Love. The death sentence there. The play as well. The fight turning around. Kanavi's still alive, even though Soul goes down. The lockdown on Jackie Love was beautiful, and Lumao's Thresh, man, it never ceases to amaze.
Hysterics Karsa showed up once again, but it doesn't matter. JDG gonna be able to bring us to Game 5.
Zoom TP'd here, Dredgeline's coming through. Zoom might actually go down here tonight, but instead takes one with him. A 1-for-1 trade in the end. Knight stuck under turret, flashes on top of Yagal, does the damage, but now Kanavi's coming in as well. For JDG's Game 5, they need to take down this turret. Health bars are low, but Knight doesn't have enough mana. He has to go back to the fountain, and JDG now finally engaged with him. Scott abduct the hill from Kingslayer, not enough, but Loken and Lumao are here. Cue up the Silver Scrapes. We're going the distance in the Grand Finals.
The world wants a 5-game show. They don't get it anywhere else, but the LPL completely delivering.
And JDG find it all.
JDG is doing so well in this game, getting ahead, abusing the 3 lanes of pressure so beautifully, and Lumao on this start finding so many clutch hooks. We talked about how on the side of TS, it's all on Jackie Love's shoulders. Well, Jackie Love was always getting caught by Lumao.
And Jackie Love is like, somebody please help me. In the end of that play, you know what it was about? It was Castle steals Dragon. Oh, wow. Fight comes around. But Lumao's hook yet again. The lockdown from Kanavi stolen. Frozen Prison was massive.
It was just beautiful to see Karsa steal that Dragon. Like, Top Esports hold on. But it's all for nothing, right?
All for nothing. I mean, JDG showed us something in this 4th game, though, right? They showed us the perseverance, but most importantly, they showed us what they can do with a lead, much like the 1st game, where we see JDG take a lead, and they really snowball it to victory.
And this is massive going into the last game, because you think about, if you can win a Game 4, you now have momentum, right?
Yeah.
You are going in with a good mindset. You're feeling refreshed. And now TS are the ones thinking, oh my God, if only we'd done this differently, that differently. This could really like bring your spirits down. This could be a game changer.
It really could. And JDG with a composition that we talked about, which feels a little bit harder to execute, first of all. And for Top Esports, when they were set up with a Mountain Soul for front to back, they couldn't find that final Mountain Soul in a favorable fight at the same time.
Typically in LPL, I would say the more easy to execute draft comes out on top. That's just what we see here. Not the case today. Even though they were sitting on Soul Point for so long, just JDG doing such a great job finding the kills they need.
And you know what? In that game as well, I feel like Kanavi brought his shining light finally. That JDG's jungler actually stepped up to Casa at that point. But most importantly, Lumao's been playing Yuumi throughout the majority of the series. The fresh game here from Lumao was exceptional, to say the least.
Lumao also does seem like the captain of this squad. If anyone saw the trash talk video, he just has this breadth of confidence that no one else has. And it's so nice to see them prioritize this support pick and then him show up so well.
Especially when the bottom lane action in the 2v2 was throughout that whole game, where Loken and Lumao found the lane kill against Jackie Love and Chocho. And you can see, once again, another LPL gold graph to say it, but this was Loken and Lumao's game. And for once, Yagao and Zoom, even Kanavi, followed their lead.
And moving to Zoom, those cannon barrages were absolutely massive, always affecting the bot lane fights, making sure Loken and Lumao can be put in a good position. And we don't need to say anything about Yagao's LeBlanc. We've talked about it so much. We saw what it could do in Game 1.
I forgot it's still undefeated. It's still undefeated. I forget every time because the action keeps coming pretty hard and fast. Yagao's now 11-0, Lyric.
Yagao just doing so well on his signature pick, but he has yet to show us anything off of that, right? We've seen 2 games of his year that he didn't necessarily play like bad himself. It was more of the team faltering. But we need to see him having a standout performance on a different champion if he can't get his hands on this next game, because we've seen in this final, this game is made off of individual star performances.
That's right. Jackie Love had one in game number 3 alongside Knight. Game 4 was Lumao, was Loken. Also, you know, Spurs from the individual solo lanes and jungle. With those individual performances in mind, we go to a game 5 where I'm not sure what to expect anymore. I don't think a lot of people expected that we'd go the distance here in this series. But now that we're here, I'm sure a lot of people out there are going to be flip-flopping.
Yeah. You know, honestly, I was hoping for a game 5. I was excited for the possibility, but I did not expect it at all.
Yeah.
Especially when we're at the highest level, right? The smallest mistakes can be abused so much that a series just does typically flip heavily in one way or the other.
Very, very true. And at this point, it's JDG who's flipping the script. A game 5 when no other Premier region gave us a game 5. That's fantastic. I'm waiting for the silver scrapes because at this point, now we have to revisit what we've seen so far in this series. We've seen 4 games of very different drafts where that last game where we saw Zoom's GP as well. His signature pick and the best GP in the world, I will say. I like it. By far. Zoom is having a much better performance towards the end here. And now that we get to a game 5, remember what we saw from JDG last year, especially in spring, and their climb up to the grand finals, with these game 5 miracles that only they could pull off.
Hey, but even as recently as the regional finals, both of these teams went to a game 5 against IG. Both of them didn't pan out so well, so this is some new territory right now.
We're going to have a new champion, folks. Remember, none of these teams have ever won the LPL domestic title. But after this, we finally get to crown our king right after the break.